Welcome to another interview, and just in time. I had to change my camera just during the loading, and I just changed just in time. Thank you for tuning in. As usual, today we will be talking to Tania. She has a various of background in lighting, as most of us do during the podcast. But our topic today will be more towards communication, more maybe some social skills, as well as how you interact with departments, because sometimes you have to deal with other people with their own technical terms and also their way of working, which can sometimes be challenging. And as we progress through this conversation, we'll probably talk a little bit about maybe some office politics. Did she experience something, or is it similar to my experiences, and so on and so forth? So please, let's have a quick welcome to talk to Tania as well. Hey, Tania.
Hel- Hello. Good
Oh,
morning.
yes. Now I remember there's a little bug that's happening when I'm working with the stream. It happened yesterday as well. Can you try talking again?
Yes. Good morning.
See, I lost your
Is it cool?
communication. So while you quickly introduce yourself, I'm going to refresh the stream so I can get this
Okay.
sound back because it's a weird bug that's going on. So you
Okay.
do
Okay.
that. You're like in charge now, Tania. So I'll be right back in a
Okay.
few seconds.
I hope to not disappoint. So, hello everybody. I'm Tania Maccaferri. I'm a lighting artist from Italy. I've been working here in UK for the past 4 years and a half by now. Started with compositing for 2D animation, and then on my way to get to lighting in 3D animation and visual effect, I passed by layout for a year, and now I full on doing lighting and compositing. Yes.
Good. All right. So we are going to start with some simple stuff in the
Mhm.
beginning. So, what are the first things you think about when you talk about, communication with departments, with people? What are the
Yeah.
first memories you have of that brings you to this
Uh,
topic?
so the very first one, since I'm not an English person, my first tongue is not English. It was the very first day I was a blues on my very first job, and my English wasn't that good still, and I was really nervous about making myself understood to my other colleagues and teammates. And my lead, a very nice guy, nice human being. The first thing he said to me about this, he was like, "Don't worry, because you guys coming from outside UK, you already know at least two languages, while us UK people only know one. So you're already on a higher level than us. So don't worry about it, and just grow with it on your own time, and you're gonna get better pretty quickly." And that did happen. So the very first thing was like speaking the same language of everybody else, and then it comes the more technical stuff about the language you use when you're working, and you need to make yourself understood by speaking about your own job, but not just speaking in general.
So, would you say that when you're doing this kind of work, um, so because you're obviously you said you were Italian, right?
Yep.
Um, does that mean when you started talking to people in a different language, did you already know the language well enough, or did you have to invest time and energy to
Yeah.
learn the communication so you didn't get, some miscommunication?
I had to invest a lot of time. The problem with Italy is they don't teach English really well in school, so then we have to put our own hours in it. So I started learning it, listening and watching a lot of cartoons, actually, like child cartoons, to start with a very basic level, and then watching more complex stuff with different accent. And so when I come to UK, I could understand really well, but my problem was speaking it because I didn't have enough word in my language. My tongue will get knocked a lot. So the more difficult part was actually speaking it myself. Written English is okay, but the speaking part was a bit hard at the beginning.
Okay. So when it comes to inter-department communication, um, do you have to talk to like many different departments? And if so, what are some of the let's say difficulty or differences when
Yeah,
you have to talk to different
yeah,
departments?
yeah. So if you're only doing lighting, and let's say you work for visual effects and you're only doing lighting, the department you will speak the most is compositing. And so you really need to know the technical terms to speak with them, like what are AOVs, what AOVs are they gonna need, what each AOVs does, so you can optimize them at best while you have to render them. And if you know the technical terms and you know what compositing does, then this thing will go pretty smoothly without issues. If you also have to understand each other and use time to understand each other, sometimes you may not have the time, and it may be a bit the issue may come up. So,
Okay.
like,
So when it comes to communication, so I'll give you a short example when it comes to communication that um, I'm always curious about is
mhm,
when communicating with people and departments.
yep,
Um, One of the challenges is assumptions. So maybe you have a different experience, you join maybe a
yeah,
different project, or you're assuming this is the pipeline, this is the
yeah, yeah.
workflow. Um, do you have any experience where you either had an assumption and it was maybe not the right assumption, or where you wished you would over communicate before you did something?
Uh, it happens to me a couple of times that I assume what an issue or an error could be, because instead of actually taking the time to delve deep into the shot we were working on and try to um like go step by step through everything to understand what the issue actually was. So in those cases, I assume I already knew which one it was. We lost a bit of time, because then you have to go back and forth, go back again, check, and speak again with the other people, and so always double, triple check also if before um, go contacting somebody about an issue, because again, sometimes it's a really speedy industry, and every one of us is running. So you don't want to waste your time, their time. So
That
really
makes sense.
checking is the best way to go.
Okay. So let's say you're talking to someone in a different department,
Mhm.
and how many different people do you normally have to talk to when you're working? Is this like one person in one department? Is it multiple people? Or is it normally just lighting related people or your lead?
Yeah.
Or how does that work for
S-
you?
So for me, my last VFX project, it was usually around lighting team, and say you have the complete or the comp artist, the one assigned to your own shot, and then you have the TDs that helping out whenever there is a technical issues with a shot. Then you have the render wrangler helping you out with the render farm if there is an issue with that. You have production. So there are a
Okay.
lot of other people outside of the lighting team.
So let's go through the departments because obviously we
Mhm.
have to. Because sometimes we have like people who are students or juniors, and
Yes.
they might not have the same experience, or maybe they have a different experience. So let's say you mention some examples for each department of typical communication you want to get right with them. So
Yeah.
if you don't get it right, something goes wrong, and obviously you
Yeah.
want to avoid that.
So yeah, I guess if you're doing lighting, the most important one to understand is compositing. You don't need to do compositing, but you need to understand what they do. So you need to maybe watch some like streams, some tutorials, some really good comp artists sharing their knowledge to understand what AOVs are. what the qualities that you need to provide to them, or like what lighting groups are, how to separate them, how to organize all the layers that you need to render out, the best way for them to comp without getting confused with all the stuff you're giving them, having a good naming convention decided with the lead, both the lighting lead and the comp lead, so you can speak the same languages and you can refer to the same thing with the same name. And because maybe you provide something that is not good quality enough and they ask for you to re-render again, if you're using the same languages, the same terms, you're gonna understand right away what you need to re-render, and you're gonna be fast and one-time job. If you have problem understanding each other, you may need to re-render it a second time, and maybe there is no time to re-render it another time. So thing may become complex, and there may be issues. So yeah.
Interesting. Do you have experience when there's less time, there's more miscommunication and stress, or do you think it's better communication?
Uh, do you mean when there is more stress? Like that?
Well, let's say originally, you have a deadline and, you thought you would finish in a week, but it's
Yeah.
taking you 2 weeks and people are like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Do you
Okay.
think
Okay.
there's more mistake when you're communicating, or you think you're more specific?
Um, I get where you need to be specific every time, as much as you can. Explain what's going on, and I feel that I saw myself that whenever you're really specific, you're gonna save time. When you're not sure about what you're speaking about, you're gonna waste time, and sometimes you can waste time. So it happens to me that they gave me a shot to do from zero for the next day. It was a big one. You can do that in just one day. So I just was communicating with production about all the single stuff that needed to be done with all the specific terms or the assets that were coming from other departments that needed to be added to the shot, that needed to be working on. So they were understanding how much stuff there was actually in that shot, and they were able to see that yeah, you couldn't do that in just one day. I needed at least like 2 or 3. So
Okay. So, do you normally work from home remotely, or do you go into office normally?
I worked remotely for 3 years when COVID started, and then until the beginning of my current job at Jellyfish. Because before I was working Blue Zoo, and they allow remote work from all over the world. So most of my team was also working remotely. So going to the office, I will be alone anyway. So I was stay home. But now in Jellyfish, a lot of us are also going to the studio. So it's nice to see each other in person, know each other, and understand the humor of each other. So when you are working from home, you can understand each other quickly. And it's also nice to get out of the house and walk a bit, see the world outside your window. So, yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. So, what do you prefer, and why do you prefer it? Working in office, working from home, or mix?
A mix. I think a mix is the best. Only working from home, I tend to become a bit like Gollum. Like, also my English gets worse because I'm not speaking with many people. But it's nice to be home. I don't know, like on Monday and Friday, you can rest a bit towards the end of the week. You can start your week a bit more chill, and then in the middle of the week, I usually go to the studio and see other people, have a bit of a social life also.
Okay. So, do you think there are some challenges because you're often working from home and you're typing most of the things? Or do you always do video conferences when you're talking between the different departments?
Hmm.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about it because a lot of people
Yes.
are struggling with these things as well, right?
Yeah. It depends, and it depends on who are speaking with, and how much time they also have. So if there is if both me and the other person have a few minutes to jump on a quick video call, it's always easier. You can share your screen, you can show in real time whatever you try to do and what is not working, or and you can. It's always easier to understand each other while you're speaking and with your video camera on, so you can see each other's faces. If not, if you can do a video call and you have to write everything down, then you need to be really specific. You need to use the technical term, and you need to always attach a screenshot if you can, with a little notes and arrow to point to the thing that is not working, and share the path to the files so they can also open them on their own machine and also check them. So try to give all the information that they're gonna need to understand what you're trying to show and communicate and speak about.
So let's talk about sharing information then in this context. So what do you mean sharing information, and why is it important?
Yeah. Sometimes it can be because you're having an issue and you need to like just share everything that's happening on your machine, and everything you're seeing, and so you just need to give like the scene you're working on, what you're trying to do, what is not working, and other time it's just sharing knowledge. So you find out something that's working really well or is solving an issue that all the team is having. So a nice thing to do is sharing whatever you find out on the team chat, and sharing is caring. So if you know that somebody is having an issue and you find out a solution for that, I think it's good to just give the information to everybody. Like right now, it's happening that we are setting up the organization for the lighting team on my show, but also a friend of mine working on another show. They're also setting up their lighting pipe. So and we're kind of having similar issue on both of the shows. So we are constantly sharing information, which settings is best to use, which settings is best to have for rendering, and speaking with the TDs to try to get them. So you're like, hey, I found out this stuff. Can we do you also have this? Can you how is working for you? And then you go to the TD and you're like, can you add this to our pipeline so we can work better? How the other show is also doing. So
Hmm.
the more you speak with other people, the more useful information you're gonna find out, and it's gonna be helpful both for you and the other teams. Maybe not even on your own show, but it may be useful anyway.
Okay, so just to give more context, explain a normal day or week of your type of work.
Mhm. Okay, so usually we start the week with a recap of the task we have to do through the week, which shots we have to work on. In my case, I also helping a bit with pipeline at the moment, so also speak about what issue we need to figure it out, what stuff we need to make work, and then you you assign to everything priorities, so you're sure you're not gonna miss deadline. And once you know both what you have to do and the priority you have, then you just get to it. So I either light shots or try technical stuff with my TD at the moment. So we are using Udemy and Karma at the moment. So either light in Udemy the shot that we have, or try to make Karma work for our own needs. And it's a lot of speaking with other people because again we are trying to solve some issues. So I will speak with a lot with my TD. I will speak a lot with another friend of mine working on another show like share knowledge. So on one side, I'm doing more strictly lighting stuff, just made some beautiful lighting for the shots that I need to do, and on the other side, I'm doing more technical stuff and solving more and a lot of problem solving, I guess. But I like both of the sides. So.
Okay. So, just for the people who don't know about it, you mentioned two softwares. Talk a little bit about the two softwares, their name again, and also what's the purpose of them and other softwares. Someone like you might have to learn and pick up,
Okay.
beyond what they know, right?
Yeah, yeah. So in general, for lighting artists, the big one are Maya and Katana and lately Udini and Unreal if you have the possibility to work on it. And then you also have the render engine, and they often enough there are Arnold, the renderman, sometimes Redshift, and in Udini case there is also Karma. Um, Lately, Udini is being used a lot both for animation and visual effect because they you can do a lot of stuff in the same software. So you get the caches from the animator, you import the caches, and then the visual effect artist doing all the visual effect. They're also working in Udini, and then you do the lighting also in Udini, and you render out always in Udini. So half of the pipeline is using the same software, and that helps a lot. It helps different department work on the same thing at the same time because, for example, with Maya, usually you have to wait for animation to finish and then for visual effects to finish, and then you can start lighting. If something is broken in lighting, you have to send it back to the animator or layout sometimes, wait for them to be done, and then go back to lighting again. With Udini, since you can import caches from different departments inside it and work on lighting in a non-destructive way. If there is an issue, the animator can fix it and export it again, and you just have to update the cache without having to redo or change your lighting. You just update a node at the very top. And same for visual effects. If a simulation is being updated, you just update a single node instead of. And in the meantime, you can still do your own lighting. It's not gonna break anything. While, for example, with Maya, you have to send it back, wait for them to be done, and then you can open again your file. And it's and you're wasting time basically. So with Udemy, it's more efficient from that point of view.
So, with this kind of information, if you had to suggest one software based on all the softwares you've been doing, which one would you say someone should pick up in this day and age to get into the
Okay.
industry?
If they want to do lighting for visual effect or animation, I think Udemy is a good one. It started to be used more and more. If you want to do lighting for games, um, I would say Unreal for sure. And then you probably already know Maya if you're studying because it's the easy one to learn on, and most of the academy teach lighting on Maya. But yeah, I guess Maya as a base is you need to know Maya as a base if you're working in cartoon and visual effect, and then if you want to have a bit more an age compared to other artists, also knowing Udemy is a big thing. It can help you a lot to get a job.
So, early in the conversation, you mentioned that you don't need to know compositing, but have you been in a situation where you needed to do the compositing and therefore you
Oh yeah,
needed the knowledge to do it?
yeah. Yes, but that is because I'm also a compositing artist. So
So
the
That's interesting. So does that mean is that something that is very common, that a lighting artist is often the compositing artist too,
Yeah.
or is it more of bonus because it's two different skill set almost, or is it do you need both to do this kind of work?
Mhm. There are two different skill sets, and they are connected in the rendering part, and what lighting is rendering out, and what compositing needs to use, what layers and elements need to use to do the comp. So, in that of that middle rendering part, they're connected, but aside from that, they're two different skills. Usually in cartoon animation, who is doing lighting is also doing compositing because it's just easier. Everything is CG, so you're lighting the shot that you're also gonna compositing, so you can organize yourself what layers you're gonna need to render out and what you can do right away inside the lighting and what you can leave for compositing after without having to coordinate with other artists because you're doing everything by yourself. While for visual effects, compositing is really different because you have to integrate the CG with the plate. The plate is usually the 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 scene recorded on stage with live actor, like real life actor, and merging the CG with the plate is a whole different set of skills. It's like you need to know a lot stuff, and you need to be really good at it. So sometimes artists decide to specialize in compositing for visual effects because it's already a very big field. And in that case, usually for visual effects, you either do lighting or or you do only compositing because of this, because there are it is a massive field, the compositing for visual effects. So you you may not have the time to also learn lighting and how to do that.
Okay, interesting. Because I mean, for because I specialize in real time lighting for like
Hmm.
Unreal Engine and Unity.
Yes.
Um, I would argue, from my observation, that people who go down the animation VFX route have to learn a bit more software normally. They have to do a bit more
Yes.
work as well, for maybe even same or less pay as well, maybe,
Yeah.
because you're doing like compositing, and then there's the plates, then there's the lighting, and then back and forth. And um, have you ever thought about that, the amount of software you need to keep track of, and the
Yeah.
workload versus other lighting in other type of industries? This is quite a bit, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, in my own experience for lighting for cartoons, you need to know at least Maya, UD, and Nuke, and there are already three big ones. Also Katana sometimes. And while for lighting for visual effects, you just need to know how to do lighting. You don't need the compositing part. Sometimes you don't you can focus only on lighting, and then if you have an issue, speak with the other artist. In cartoon animation, you may have to fix a lot of the stuff yourself. A lot of the stuff coming from other department by yourself. So you need to know more software.
Interesting. So, according to your experience, what would you say student slash junior, in terms of, not in terms of job opportunity, but in terms
Mhm.
of technical know-how and requirements to just get into the type of industry? Which route would you recommend in terms of not having, being overwhelmed by all of these
Okay.
softwares?
Okay. I will say, first of all, we'll be really sure about what field you want to end up in. If you want to be a lighting artist, don't get distracted with also modeling or shading or animation or just if you're putting together a reel for lighting, focus on that first of all. And Maya is easier to get as a student and is still use it a lot. Is still, yeah, still use it a lot. So Maya is fine. and then the studio may give you a few weeks of training if you're using another software. Uh, Udemy, I don't remember how much is if is for student and how long is the training period. If you can have even just a shot in Udemy, it would be cool. Like use the training, the free training period. That sometimes it's like a month. You can download the software, try it on the shot, and then in your show reel you can say that you also use Udemy. You can do the same for Katana if you can, just to show how many different ones you can use, and you're gonna have a bit more on a edge compared to other artists that maybe they can only show a shot in Maya, let's say. And then yeah.
Okay. Yeah, keep on if you have
Okay,
something
okay.
more to add. Yeah.
And then after you have some really good shot just for lighting, maybe start adding other knowledge, like do a second pass on your show reel and maybe add some compositing to add a bit of wow factor, a bit to push them a bit more. And maybe you can learn a bit about shaders and materials and tweak some of them to get even a more beautiful look to what you're trying to achieve with your lighting. Maybe move a bit the camera to make your shot more interesting compared to the still image. You can even do a small tracking just to make it more appealing. So you start with lighting if you want to be a lighting artist, and then you add multiple passes where you start adding other little thing just to make it, to improve it, to show that you are also more skills, and while you're applying to jobs and you're not being picked up, you can keep working on it and improving it.
So let's watch one of your videos then now, and you can
Mhm.
kind of do a breakdown, but also explain, not just the technical challenges and solutions and tools you use, but also any interdepartment communication that is
Yes.
required to finish this type of work. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll add it to the screen here. It's loading.
Okay, so this one were a few visual effects shot I did for a commercial for Flipbook up in Manchester. And this one was done with the Technicolor Academy. It's a lighting course I was doing to try to get to lighting for visual effects. And so it's mostly like school materials, let's say. And there were still some difficulties about it. This one was my compositing work back at Blue Zoo, but for this show in particular, we also had to do some 2D lighting at the edge of the character, and with all the issues that come with that. And we used some boom harmony for this one. And this one is another short I did for Blue Zoo, and we use Blender. So
For some of these shots, so if you start from the beginning. So what
yes.
were the challenges of getting this right?
So for all this shot, I was the only lighting artist on the project, and it was a very speedy production. So I remember this very particular shot with the tiger getting into the cabin. We didn't have any layout for that. Just the animator take care of the camera, and with the plate and inside their Maya scene, they moved the tiger to look like she was walking over the different steps of the cabin. But to integrate the tiger in compositing with the plate, you also need the shadow, and the shadow needs to look like as if it's also going over the steps. So I remember to having to build a very rough cabin while I was also doing lighting to fake the deformation of the shadows over over the steps. And so yeah, in that case, I was doing both lighting and layout, just putting some basic geometry to fake the grass, and then the step of the cabin, and then the shadow inside the cabin. And we use Maya, so again, knowing Maya at least is already something good. And yeah, so for this one, I was also doing layout while doing lighting, and I was speaking with the compositor to check that the shadow was good enough for them, step by step.
So with this kind of shot and challenges is, so how do you deal with when someone doesn't provide you with enough resources to do
Okay.
your job? Because technically you have to make the placeholder yourself to do your job.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, and is there a way to make that process easier, or is it very common thing that happens?
Eh, it, it happened to me a lot. I don't know if it's common or if it's just like a coincidence, but luckily for me, I do like also doing other stuff and doing a bit of problem solving. It keeps things alive for me. So if I can do something, I will do it on myself. So you don't have to go back to another artist to wait for them to be done and then pick up the file again. It's just faster and you can tweak it while you're also doing it. It happens on my last show that we were there was a spider walking on the actor, and the spider was CG, and the actor was, of course, real life. And again, what you need to integrate the both of them was the shadow from the spider on the arm of the character, and the roto animation sometimes wasn't really there. You can feel something was not there, and the animation of the spider sometimes wasn't really touching the rot animation, so the shadow wouldn't then be correct in compositing. You will feel that the spider was detached from the actor. So I knew that we needed to fix the rot animation, but that would have been sending the rot animation back to the rot department. They were in India, so also the time zone wasn't on our side in that case, and then explain to them the issues that we are having and what was happening. So maybe also make time for a video call with them, and then give them the time to fix it, and then also the animation will have to do a second pass to match the roto animation again, and then it could get to lighting. So I knew that all of that will need to happen, but at the same time I also knew that I could fix it just by moving the geometry point of the roto. So in that case, it was easier for me to do it myself on the spot while also doing lighting rather than maybe
Is
use
that,
1 or 2 days.
common? Is that allowed to do normally, or is that normally
It's,
not something you should be
no,
doing?
it depends if this is something that is happening just for one shot, or if it's happening for multiple shots. If it's once time thing and the artist can fix it itself, you can fix it yourself, but always speak with your like lead and supervisor and production to check that everybody is okay with that, is okay with you fixing it by yourself. If the issue is with an asset or something that then need to be used in multiple shot, then it's best to, and it is usual to send it back to the department that need to take care of the issue and then get it back and work on it once it's fixed.
Okay. So you mentioned a little bit about working with people from other countries and time zone.
Yeah.
How is that experience, and does that come with any challenges that requires a different way of working?
I think the biggest thing is being aware of the different time zone. And so if you need to deliver something for them and you are in UK, you usually need to deliver it by the middle of the day, or you will have to wait for the other day. You can you can use the afternoon, let's say. And so that is a bigger thing. Other than that, if you are able to speak with them in technical terms, they also know everything that we also know. They use the same terms, so that's not a problem. If you speak the technical language, you won't have an issue.
Okay. So this was using Maya specifically?
Yes, Maya and Arpo.
Okay. And the other shot, how was that experience and challenge and solution?
Yes. So for this one, the challenge was that each plate had a different color. It was a slightly different tint from, let's say, the first one was this, and then it was this one. And again, the grass was looking different from one shot to the other. So after doing the lighting, we also had to do a bit of color grading to make them consistent with each other.
Okay.
And
And
you usually won't need to do that in a production. This was more on a academy situation, so you try to do things nicely for your own showreel.
okay. But does that happen often in a production setting more, or does that have to do with communication, or is there?
Uh, you may get plate looking a bit different from the set. Uh, I I don't know what's the issue. I never been on set, so I can really say why they look different. Maybe just the light changing through the day while they're recording it. But then, as the lighting artist, you won't have to fix it. It's more up to the color grading guys and the editing or compositing team. You just need to match the light and do
Okay.
your lighting artistry. Yeah.
And normally, when you do this current and the previous work, did you render it on your own, or was there a render farm involved, or?
So in for this case, I was rendering on my own, but it was also really light. And for the shot from the Technicolor Academy, we had a render farm. But even with a render farm, you have limitation because every time that you render something, you need to spend money for it. So you need to be really aware on how to optimize this render setting to get the best quality in the fastest time. And so even if there is a render farm, your your thinking doesn't change much. You can go and be like, oh, there is a render farm. Let push it everything to the maximum setting and just take advantage of the farm. You will still have issues. So of course, with a farm, you can render more heavy stuff without your computer burning up, but you still need to be aware about what you're asking the machine to do.
So, is there any things to be aware of besides this when it comes to render farm? Is it mostly technical things you need to be pay attention to, like making sure it's rendering quick and efficient and clean images? Is there something you need to schedule as well normally? Because obviously, something I notice when people are doing lighting challenges on our Discord, sometimes people, oh no, I forgot to think about the time it takes to render something on my own
Yeah.
computer and things. So what's the average time, and do you need to somehow plan for the time it takes to render? Is there any advice to like test the renders early and then kind of estimate how long it will take for the
Yeah.
final render?
So always test your render times. Render the first time, the first frame, the last frame, maybe in the middle one if you can. So if you're working on your own project, if you're working for the studio project, always test the frame locally first and use that test to optimize at maximum both the quality and the time renders. Once you get to a very good point and you can improve it, you can improve it anymore. Usually, to understand if that is good enough, you will have like line guidelines from your supervisor or leads. Like when I was working on my previous show, we were working in 4K, so the guideline was for environment. A render of 45 minutes or an hour was still acceptable. Of course, if you can get less, always try to get less. But if the maximum was something close to an hour, was still good. If your best optimization is more than an hour, then you have to speak with your supervisor or your lead and decide together with the render wrangler if that is something that is still acceptable, and then go for it, or you need to some way make it better. And like for animation and cartoon animation, the show I'm working on right now, our supervisor gave us guideline for character and environment, and we are working in HD on this one. So for the render of the characters, render time along 5 or 7 minutes are pretty good and pretty perfect. For the environment, 20, maybe 30 are still good. And then you go case by case. If there is a really complex environment, you will obviously get longer render time. But when you have longer render time, when by doing the local test, you see that you will have long render time. You always need to double check if that's gonna be okay.
So, two questions, I guess. Between these different type of workflow and software and type of projects, so you might have a commercial, so that's more realistic. Maybe you have a cartoon, so on and so forth. Which one is less stressful or challenging in terms of communicating between departments versus another, and which one is more technically easy or difficult?
Okay. I think it depends a lot on the type of project itself. In general, commercial are really quick paced. You need to be like a very fast worker, a very fast lighter. So that on itself, I guess, added stress to the situation. And while maybe for film, you can have a bit more time. While when I was working in cartoon animation back at the Blue Zoo, both for compositing and layout, we were doing one episode for each week, so that was still pretty fast. And I guess when I was doing 2D animation, I was only speaking with the the guys in visual effects doing the end draw visual effects and production. It was a pretty small team. We were all working in the same room, as we were two compers and two visual effect artists. So our team was just us. It was really easy to communicate between each other. Our production manager was in the same room with us, so that was really nice and really easy to communicate whenever we had an issue or something. While with my latest project, it is a much bigger team, a much bigger production. You have to use a farm. You have to render really heavy simulation, really heavy environment, so that you need to speak with the visual effect artists. You need to speak maybe with the material artist to improve the shaders. You have to speak maybe with the guy controlling and checking the render farm. So I guess the bigger the show, the bigger the elements coming into each shot, the more people you will have to speak about. For yeah.
Yeah, keep on, keep going.
For my Tiger commercials, it was just the plate and the tiger. So I was always speaking with the animator whenever the shot was ready for him. And then I can then lighten it. And then I was speaking with the compers to be sure they were getting the right stuff. With the stuff I was doing on Nautilus in my latest show, it was underwater. There was like a lot of simulation of visual effect, massive environment. So then you have to speak with much more department and much more artists.
So you would say you would need better soft skills, communication skills if you work on bigger projects
Yes.
than smaller projects. Do you think there's less? Do you feel there's less communication if there's a smaller project because you have to do more yourself, or maybe I don't know, there's
Yeah,
less communication?
in my experience, it has been like that. Smallest project with just myself as a lighter or small team. It was I will speak less. Let's say
Okay.
maybe you chat, but you're not. You chat about I don't know your
Your
day to day
favorite
life.
TV, favorite TV show, your favorite
Exactly, but
food.
you speak less about the proper technical stuff that is happening. With a bigger production, you also need to speak a lot about the technical stuff. So soft skill are more more use more. You need to use more of them, I think.
So we are getting closer to the end of the stream, so now would be a good time if anyone will have any questions. And if you don't have any questions, at least like, subscribe, and share the videos for other people to learn as well. So we'll take at least one question for now. So the question is, how important do you think it is to have a college degree in the industry, and how do you cover that downside if you want a better chance to get hired?
I think in our industry, from an artistic point of view, it's the degree is not really that important. It's more important having a strong show reel. Having a degree may be more political and more bureaucratic in the sense that, let's say, for example, if you want to work in UK after Brexit, you need to be a skilled worker to get a job in UK and a visa to come to work in UK. So if you have a college degree in this industry, you can prove to the government that you have a skilled you are a skilled worker. So then from a bureaucratic point of view, you have all that is necessary to get hired. But from a more artistic point of view, you just need to show a really strong show reel.
Yeah, that's a good point when it comes to getting work and everything in other countries for visa. Anyway, you do need a you need a degree to get those points up to be a skilled worker, and it also makes it easy for you if you did it in English language because then you prove you can speak English, so you don't have to do any English test. So that's definitely a good point on that end. Um, so on this shot here, lighting and compositing,
Yes.
you made it sound like there was some challenges maybe or difficulties
Yes.
doing this.
So for this, we used Tumbo Harmony, and it is a software used for to cut out 2D animation, and for compositing and lighting is node based like Nuke. So you can do similar stuff, but it's a lot less powerful. And in this short, we had to add these rim lights to the cutout character, and you kind of do that like in Nuke when you put a light into the compositing, and then using the normals of the character, you can position it and get it. The problem with though was that it was another very fast-paced production, so we didn't at the time to build a proper tool to add the lighting. We were just using the basic node you already find in Tom Boom. So a lot of the time this lighting will break with the edges of the rig element. So if the character was bending the arm, then you will see edges on the elbow, let's say. So one of the solution was either going inside the rig, a very complex rig, and find out what was the part of the body that you need to use as a mask, bringing it out from the rig and use it to cover the edge, or otherwise we were just painting manually over it to cover it. So in that case, we also needed to know how the rig were done and how we're working to be really fast in choosing what part we needed to fix the problem.
So, would you say it's harder or easier or just more technical to do this type of work?
Uh, I guess it's a if you're also a bit of a technical artist and you can quickly pick up this kind of thing, it is easier in the moment you have another artist explaining them to you, because in this case we had the rig lead quickly explaining to us and showing us how the rig were working, and so then we could work with them. Sometimes you need to pick up these skills by yourself, watching, I don't know, YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. Other times you may be lucky enough to have another artist in the studio, maybe the lead itself, explain to you what you need to know in that specific moment. And that will make stuff easier for sure.
Okay. So, before I ask, let's do one more question from the viewer. Would it be hard for game lighting artists to expand the views and work on animation and film regarding software and everything else?
Uh, I think that with the levels that Arial has gotten to, and now how much it can look like real life lighting, if you do some good pieces, I mean, let's say that you also want to expand your skill to lighting for visual effects. Usually the thing you need to show is that you're able to match the blade and create really realistic lighting. And with Unreal now you can do that pretty easily. You can do it. It's free. You can do it. There is a lot of environment and character that you can use. So from an artistic point of view, you can still use Unreal to show that you can also do lighting for visual effects or for more cartoony animation, even with just still images. And if you're able to move a camera, it's a bit more interesting. But just with the quality of your lighting, you can show you will also able to work on those kind of production. And then for the software skill, you need to have maybe again take advantage of the trial period of the software and have even just one shot in your showreel done with other software. Maybe Unreal, maybe Houdini, maybe Katana. You can watch a tutorial about it before downloading the trial, so you get all your knowledge before you get the program, so you don't have to waste any days studying while you also have only a month of free software. And then when you have all the knowledge, you can download the free trial and do your shot and also add it to your showreel.
Okay. It's an interesting question, I think, as well. Personally, I am I'm, I'm too I don't know. Call me old, call me tired. I'm too tired to start learning
Yeah,
more software
yeah,
just
yeah.
to just to get more work. So and there's just so much you can do in
Mm,
real time engine. So for me,
yes,
I just try and do more filmmaking stuff instead. So
yes,
I become more independent in my
yeah,
engine, so
yeah,
I can do everything on my own rather than start focusing different things. I'm just too
yeah, yeah,
tired for that. I'm like,
yeah.
uh, I'll just be unemployed and wait until there's something that pops up.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried about these things.
yeah.
So
And
it
also,
depends on what you want, I guess.
yes, and also more and more cartoon animation studio are starting to use Unreal to do our cartoon animation. So it may be easier to get a job if you only a job in animation while also only knowing Unreal, because again more studio are starting to use it and getting interested in it, and I'm seeing job offer for cartoon animation asking artists to know Unreal. And for visual effects, they're starting to have something called um, lighting in pre-production, where they may also use Unreal, and so maybe you can get your foot into the door with Unreal without
Yeah.
having to know any other software.
Yeah, I think yeah, it depends on your personality and what kind of person you're. But Marco, you're pretty young, so I think you could probably pull it off anyway. But I think it depends. But yeah, I do think more people will use real time engine to do most of the stuff in the long run. So I normally recommend someone like Tanya as well to pick up more Unreal,
Yeah,
more
I'm
Unity.
doing it. Yes, yes, yes. It's because it's allow you to bring together a lot of different things. You can
Yeah.
do layout work with really pretty environment, because on the area marketplace there is already amazing stuff that you can get, let's say for Maya or Udemy. And there are amazing characters already ready, and you can plug in some uh, animation and try to understand a bit how to make it work. And then you can have, for just for lighting, you can have a very beautiful environment with a moving character and a moving camera, and you can show very easily how good of a lighter you will be in a full shot with a lot of element moving.
Definitely. And I think there's always going to be some opportunities out there, really. I don't
Yeah,
think it's going to be a problem for most people. But
yeah, yeah.
that said, uh, we are over our 1 hour mark because there's always more to talk about than the time I spend doing this. But that's why we can always invite people back in the future. I also am going to talk a little bit to Tanya in private, as usual. I talk to people in private after the stream to get some more familiarity with them and continue to build a friendship. Uh, Tanya, is there any closing remark you would like to say before we start finishing?
Ah, I don't know. I guess focus on your lighting. And when you have a bit of time, free time, also try to get information about the department closer to it. So
Yeah.
have a really strong lighting. If you do cartoon animation and VFX lighting with software that need a render file, also try to learn a bit about rendering, because it's the other side of the coin for lighting. You can avoid it. You need to know that really well also. But yeah, focus on your lighting and then try to add knowledge around it.
Cool. Now, just a quick reminder, we do have 3 other streams. I haven't made all the banners, but there's one at least with Katarina. Game Dev Education, Art Fundamentals for Lighting. There's portfolio review sometime in December. You can submit stuff and, I can always help you improve. Don't forget, we have a lighting course. We have a DaVinci Resolve color grading course, either on our website or you can go to Udemy and ArtStation. I don't know. Maybe I'll add it to whatever QBrush or whatever it's called eventually, whenever I feel like it. It's not really a big important thing. So therefore, we want to thank Tanya. We have to thank Tanya for making time to talk to us, right? Because it's Sunday, and she probably has better
No,
thing to do than sit
it
here.
was a pleasure, a massive pleasure. And thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah. So remember, I'm sure Tanya doesn't mind if you connect with her on LinkedIn or our
Yeah, sure.
station. You know, um, I can always, if you post in private chat, I can post it in back into the
Yeah,
comment field for you guys to do. And I do understand, during this time, a lot of people are looking for work. So just a word of hope and motivation. There is a lot of work out there. You just have to be able to know where to find it and who to talk to, I guess. But also, don't take shitty jobs and shitty pay
Yeah.
just because you need work. I think that's very important. I think I had like 3 different offers already, and I took it. I denied it basically because I don't want to get ripped off. Because work is fine, but so is having some standards of your own ability.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's very
Yes.
important. And if we together as a team, as a community, if we don't go always to the cheapest amount of price when we do freelancing or ask for work, it's actually going to benefit everyone in the long run, because otherwise
Yeah.
the companies will just take the money, whoever is cheapest, and then it takes longer for you to get the raise. Takes longer for you to get the bump you need
Yeah.
when you get promotion. So there's a lot of political and financial reasons for these
Yeah.
things as well.
And it's gonna happen in the next few months. We
Yes.
need to be really we are gonna need to be really careful to not lower our prices too much, because otherwise we're gonna all of us are gonna have a big issues.
Yes, exactly. So, be comfortable saying no, be comfortable losing clients, because at the end of the day, probably someone else in a third world country is trying to pay the bills, and they would have a life-changing opportunity for that small amount, versus you probably have to chase 4 projects, 4 people, just to get enough money to actually pay your bills. So sometimes, be a good person, let someone else take it, and wait for a better opportunity. And as usual, if you need an opportunity, I have plenty of emails that I didn't accept, so maybe you ask me and I can give you something. Thank you again for watching, everyone. I appreciate your support. Please like, please subscribe, please share. Give me some love. I don't make any money. There's no monetization in my channel, because I do it when I want to, when I feel like it. So it's never gonna reach the requirements. So I'd appreciate any help. And again, we have a Discord. For those who don't know, we have a Discord. There's challenges. There is a community, smart people. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about people like Tania. Smart people in there. They can help you, and they can. I'm sure people are just generally helpful, aren't they? So feel free to join. Lighting challenges happens every month, and people get work from it. Funny enough, I didn't know. People started messaging me and saying, "Hey, I got work because of the lighting challenge," and recruiters said they
Excellent.
found people. So it definitely works, especially when we promote you, like these kind of things, right? So we obviously like promoting people as much as possible. And there's Discord. There is the LinkedIn. There is the Instagram for Tanya. Support her as well. We're all just trying to get by. So let's just help each other, and may the best person win, as I say. That's what it is.
Yeah, we need to open doors for each other for sure.
And in my experience, you help someone else, 6 months later, they call you for getting a work. So it helps. So thank you again for watching. Have a good Sunday. I'm gonna play either Cross Out or Warlander with a friend. Then I am probably gonna do my freelancing, and then I'm gonna go for a walk, and then I'm gonna eat something. That's my schedule for the day. I don't know what your
So
schedule is, but we love
I'm gonna
you.
go play laser tag with my team,
Oh,
with my work colleagues and friends.
Oh, well, that's nice. Well, I will not keep you busy then. Have a nice day with that, and be on time. So thanks for everyone watching, and we will let you go now, and I'll talk a little bit with Tanya and